Hello, welcome to my Project 3 postmortem video for 470. So now that the project's done, I've made my candle display. You can see it. Now that it's all done, I've got to do some looking back. And I think honestly, I had a fun time doing this project personally. I think it was my favorite so far we've done. I think because like I've had the most control over what it's going to end up being like, and I think it ended up the closest to what I wanted it to be. I kind of had this vision of what, I wanted all these candles and stuff, and I wanted it to be kind of simulated with the photoresistor and the temperature sensor, and I think it really ended up closely to what I was thinking about, and I liked that. I think that's what I liked. Honestly, I'm most proud of just how I was able to put it all together, how I was able to incorporate, the temperature sensor and the photoresistor and all the LEDs, and get the candle like little plastic parts like this, and shove the LED inside there. I thought that was like just sourcing it and putting it all together. I was very proud of, as well as building like here you can see there's just these little temporary cardboard displays. I think is a nice touch, so it's not just on the board. I really like that. It definitely makes it stand out, at least for me. And then if I wanted to, I could paint it or add more. The biggest challenge was the logic behind how I wanted the circuit to work. So mainly like the temperature. So I kind of had this problem where, if it's colder in the house or if it's warmer, there's no way that my code, you have to hard code it if you really wanted to. And I did hard code the light, but that's more of just like, if it's dark enough, the light will turn on, whatnot. So, but for the temperature, I need to have something dynamic. So I would read the current temperature whenever the lights would turn on. So when it got dark enough, I'd read the temperature. And then I'd set that to a minimum temperature value. And then I would check from then on, hey, is the current temperature greater than that temperature, than the minimum recorded temperature plus like 2 or 3. I messed around with that added number, but yeah, that's what I ended up doing, and it was kind of a good fix because then I don't have to worry about constantly changing the number or anything like that. Although I still would encounter problems where the number's too low, and like as soon as the lights turn on, they would immediately turn off. And I also had kind of trouble where my idea of blowing onto the temperature sensor, it did raise it, but it was kind of hard to do. You would have to like cup your hands around the temperature sensor so that the air would stay trapped, or what I would end up doing most of the time, testing purposes, would just do, like here, I would just grab on the temperature sensor and snuff it out. Because my fingers would heat it up much faster. So I'm glad at least that my breath would heat it up, and I wouldn't have to do like checking if it gets cold or anything, because then I wouldn't be able to test with my fingers. So, but my solution was just, record what the temperature is in here, and if it's warmer than that, that's what I do. If I had more time, I would, so you can see right here I have the temperature sensor on the middle candle, but what I would do is, if I had more time, I would put them around on each of the things so you could individually blow out the candles. And I'd also maybe give it more of a proper setup, put the photoresistor somewhere other than just in the middle. You have the circuits right here. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to display. Ideally it would be something like, from the Beauty and the Beast almost, where it's like that multi-pronged, where you could have like a Hanukkah type setup or whatever. But I opted for this kind of like tri-tower display because I thought it looked nice and it was simple enough where I could manage my wires without being a whole hassle. If I also had more time, I would also probably replace each of these LEDs are hard coded with I just got a random color LED. Although I did choose red, white, and blue because I didn't really have three of the same or any that looked nice. I didn't really want all red lights or anything like that. So I went with red, white, and blue because it was a single theme. But okay, so now I hooked up there. The exposure on this camera isn't very nice. But yeah, red, white, and blue. If I had more time, I would replace these with like an RGB light, one of the ones with the 4 prongs, so that or maybe I could set it up so that they're like customizable, so you could have any colors you really wanted. That's what I would do, because right now I've had it where you just have to pull out the LEDs and replace them with different colors. And then, yeah, so any advice for future projects? I mean, this one's kind of one where you can kind of have fun. I think, personally, I'd say mess around with, what you already have, because last one I bought like a accelerometer that didn't really work out. And I remembered I had this temperature sensor, and I was curious of how I could use that in different ways. So I decided to do that. So yeah, I'd say mess around with whatever you have in your kit. Use that because honestly, there's so many ways you could use the things you already have in more ways than one. And yeah, overall, I had a great time. I think this one was kind of like my favorite, mainly because it worked like smoothly, like there wasn't any like weird thing going on with the circuit or whatever. But yeah, it was good. I had a fun time. Bye.